Joining me now is the host of the CPM Silver Reception. He's also the managing director of CPM Group based in New York. Jeff, good to have you back on Kitco News. Been a while.
Yes, it's good to be.
And perfect timing. Let's dive right into it. I had a lot of emails, people curious to get your point of view on the recent news surrounding bank manipulation of the precious metals market. A few years back, or actually last year, you had said you would have been shocked to know that banks were behind precious metals manipulation. What do you make of the current situation?
First off, what I said was that I would be shocked to find out if there was any large-scale manipulation. Precious metals, like all markets, have people gunning stops and stuff like that, and bankers do that. They do it in every commodity, every financial market. In terms of the most recent comments, one of the comments that was made was that the EU said it would not pursue further investigations of precious metals markets. It was closing that work.
Right.
And then the CFTC said, we will continue to investigate. So they didn't say that they were going to prosecute or anything. They said they were going to continue to investigate. Now, consider this. The precious metals markets are incredibly unregulated, and as are all commodity markets. And the commodity markets in general have been underregulated for decades. So now regulators are sort of saying, well, gee, we should be looking at these things. In other words, we should be doing our jobs. And with the CFTC, which has had a big changeover in its commissioners, I think to the better, the CFTC is saying, we're going to continue our investigation. That's all they really said.
But as an investor, what do you do with this information? How much should it be weighing on someone?
The kinds of manipulations that you probably would find in any market are these things that are shorter term intraday type of things. If you're a longer term investor, it probably is largely meaningless to you. And you should be focusing on the fundamentals of the individual market and the individual asset and the macroeconomic and political environment that affect that asset. And you could probably safely ignore this stuff for the most part.
But when you see this news, Jeff, how much does it concern you? Usually the saying is where there's smoke, there's fire. So if there is truth to it, what does it say about the precious metals market?
If there's truth to what? That the CFTC is finally going to pay attention to the precious metals market?
That the banks are manipulating precious metals prices.
Okay. Well, if there is truth to that, then there's something there. But there's absolutely no evidence at this point that there's anything other than that. If you go back and look at the Barclays fine last year, Barclays was not fined for manipulating the market. Barclays was fined for lack of supervision. Their own option trader was diddling with the market and they didn't know it. So the idea that Barclays was somehow or other trading on their clients' information when they weren't even paying attention to their own proprietary traders' information is kind of laughable. So that's where you're at. You have no evidence, and what you are finding is sloppy banking and sloppy regulators. And that's what we're probably going to uncover, is that banks were very sloppy in their own administration, and regulators have been very sloppy in regulating commodity markets, which, by the way, has been set up consciously on a global basis expressly because the commodities were not registered securities or bonds or equities.
Let's talk gold price now. We've seen a lot of volatility since the start of the year. We've been trading sideways. What do you make of the current price action we're seeing in the gold market?
Well, we've seen a little bit of volatility, which is not unusual in the first quarter. Our view is that you probably have seen, a little bit of strength. We're going to quiet down now, March, April, May, possibly through the summer. Our expectation is that the price has made its low. It may go down and test, 1180, 1170 a few more times over the next several months, but that it probably will, by and large, stay above that, and then it'll start moving higher later. We look at the gold market and the silver market and we say the downside actually seems limited on both of those markets right now, but there seems to be a lot of upside. There are a lot of long-term investors who continue to buy into any sell-off, and there are a lot of short-term investors who are not jumping into the market necessarily. A lot of them got burned in the first quarter of 2014 by getting too bullish only to have that rally dissipate on them. But they are continuing to pay attention to the long side of gold. And if you look at for example, the spread in the gold market, if you go back 6 or 8 months ago on the COMEX, you probably had about a 60-40 split, long and short, along institutional investors. It's probably about 80-20 now. So you're seeing shorter term investors more interested in trading gold from the long side. And there are a lot of people who are waiting to see what kind of cathartic event could cause the gold price to spike higher.
Well, I guess that's my next question. Given the uncertainty we're seeing in the world, do you feel that gold is still acting as a safe haven?
Gold's role as a safe haven is that it is a great portfolio diversifier. Gold doesn't necessarily stay high in times of crises. We saw that in 2008, 2009, when gold fell because people were selling their gold because they needed the liquidity. So gold works as a safe haven, and gold continues to work as a safe haven because it's an excellent portfolio diversifier. And what we're finding is a lot of long-term investors, who are about 2/3 of the people who buy physical gold, are longer-term investors, and they continue to be interested in gold because they look at those long-term economic and political factors and they say, the world is still extremely unsettled, and we're probably 2 years away from another recession in the United States. I want to continue to have and build long positions in gold.
Jeff, it's always great speaking with you. I wish you best of luck at your reception tonight.
I think it's been a big success already, but thank you.
Well, have a great PDAC then.
Thank you.
And thanks for watching our coverage here from the CPM Silver Reception. We'll obviously have a lot more coverage for you from PDAC 2015, so be sure to stay tuned to Kitco.com. Thanks for watching.